Kazakhstan, and China have formalized a high-level agreement to establish domestic assembly lines for autonomous sit-track heavy commercial trucks in Kazakhstan. So they're going to move the manufacturing facility for Chinese-made autonomous trucks to Kazakhstan, right? The project shifts the market away from direct imports and aftermarket retrofits to embedding factory-level 4 drive-by-wire systems and autonomous navigation stacks directly onto an assembly line in a key Eurasian market, right? This industrial alignment operates alongside broader regional initiatives, including cross-border driverless freight routes. Now think about this, from Astana to Moscow corridors, deployment of extreme temperature L4 mining trucks, such as the Lukai Alpha 125, which is rated for negative 40 degrees Celsius, which I will tell you is very cold, and municipal robotaxi initiatives, which is, there's a partnership between Freedom Holding and Baidu's Apollo Go. I mean, what this really signals is in Eurasia, right? You have the EAEU, Eurasian Economic Union, which is an economic and political bloc of 5 post-Soviet states: Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan. What you have is China moving in to say, we own this region. There is going to be manufacturing, and everything from the beginning of that truck in terms of building it to its operations on the road to what it's moving, right? All this autonomously is going to be Chinese owned, Chinese funded, but built in Kazakhstan to then deploy in the EAEU states, right? And that is a kind of big step by China to say, you know what, West, we have just taken off this huge region of the globe. That is ours. You are not welcome here. We own this region from an autonomy standpoint, from a manufacturing standpoint, from a trading standpoint, from a logistics standpoint. And I think that has big geopolitical implications, because next to these states are some of your far Eastern European states, Poland and Germany, things of that nature that suggest that, once China establishes its foothold in Eurasia, it makes it easier to establish its foothold in autonomous trucking and autonomous mining and autonomous logistics in the rest of Europe as well.
What this is something that we've predicted for over a year now, that we have coined the Autonomous Belt and Road Initiative. China is rebuilding the Belt and Road Initiative. This time it's not infrastructure. This time it's autonomy. Yes, they're leveraging infrastructure to build factories, because by building it's brilliant politics, by the way. Building a factory in a country does one thing: creates jobs. And it creates sticky jobs, long-term jobs. So creating the economic funnel to fund all of this in that local, you're building trust with the local community. You're building trust, you're creating jobs, and you're exporting Chinese robotaxis and Chinese autonomous trucks. It is a big deal with massive geopolitical implications. The one thing that I cannot wrap my head around, you and I and our wives are probably the only ones that hear us talk about this all day. I am shocked that this is not talked about more, because this is not being done quietly. There are posts on X, there are press releases, there's all sorts of stuff out there. What do you think the massive geopolitical implications of China's Autonomous Belt and Road Initiative really kicking into high gear here?
Yeah, look, I mean, I agree. This is underreported. It's a mystery to me as to why, because what this signals, these are two countries. These are not like, yes, there are various companies associated with this, but this is an agreement between the governments of two countries that basically says, Chinese autonomous platforms are to become the default industrial and logistics layer for Central Asian trade and resource extraction corridors, right? It is not only about autonomy per se, but what autonomy can then enable in terms of trade, and most importantly, that resource extraction, right? I mean, there are valuable things in that region of the world that China needs to continue to build and promote and expand the influence of its autonomous Belt and Road Initiative. And so what this is doing is it's turning Kazakhstan into a regional production and deployment hub, I should say, for driverless freight, and embedding, as we mentioned, this Chinese autonomy stack infrastructure directly into the Eurasian trade corridors. It has to be mentioned, and this is not anything that either the government of China would talk about or the government of Kazakhstan would talk about, right? But as I mentioned, the EAEU, one of its 5 participating countries is Russia, right? And so this assembly mandate in Kazakhstan creates a low friction compliance buffer for the entire region, for all those 5 states, where potentially, right, you could see the routing of restricted AI compute and autonomous driving hardware somehow, some way, mysteriously, moving from Kazakhstan northbound into Russia. And so you have to be aware that while Kazakhstan is important for all the reasons we said, when you're bordering with Russia and now you're talking about bringing autonomy, AI, compute, silicon, all the things that are on the frontier edge of the leading emerging physical AI industry, and you're putting it right on the border, you have to be aware that that is not unintentional, right? And so I think we're going to need to monitor this potential route, whether deliberate or not deliberate, or under the guise of something else, of how and if restricted AI compute and autonomous driving hardware winds up in Russian hands. And you're going to probably, I think, see in a period of time escalated OFAC and EU secondary sanctions monitoring of that particular route, given the embedding of this autonomous stack and manufacturing capacity right in the middle of a kind of landmass that puts China and Russia together vis-a-vis Kazakhstan.
And the other interesting element of all this, the weather. There's snow, there's cold, there's smoke, there's fire, and depending on where you are, there's bullets flying. And then these autonomy stacks can work in that environment. That should be serve as a massive, massive wake-up call to what's being developed in the West.
The autonomy economy is real. Commercial robo-taxi operations, humanless freight runs, AV infrastructure investment measured in billions. The question is no longer whether autonomous mobility scales. It's who advises the companies building it. KPMG works across the full autonomy ecosystem: operators, OEMs, suppliers, insurers, and investors. At the moment it matters most. When the road ahead is uncertain, we've already been there. KPMG, accelerating what's next in mobility.